What if I told you that the single largest piece of mobile artillery ever created, a weapon that fired shells heavier than a modern SUV, never actually won a battle? This is the story of the Schwerer Gustav, Hitler's 350-ton monster, a machine so obsessed with scale that it became a legend of wartime over-engineering. Prepare to step back into the dark ambition of the Second World War, where logic gave way to sheer, terrifying size. The need for such a weapon was born from an obsession. Before the start of the conflict, Adolf Hitler was fixated on the Maginot Line, the seemingly impenetrable network of fortifications protecting France. He demanded a gun capable of destroying this line, one that could effortlessly punch through multiple layers of reinforced concrete and hardened steel. This colossal task fell to the renowned German arms manufacturer Krupp, which began designing the giant railway gun in 1934. They set out to create a machine that would prove German engineering dominance to the world. The resulting weapon was staggering. The Schwerer Gustav, named after the Krupp family patriarch, weighed an incredible 1,350 tons and stretched over 47.3 meters, 155 feet long. To put that in perspective, this gun was longer than 3 standard railway cars placed end to end. It was mounted not on conventional wheels, but on a massive railway chassis that required specially constructed double-track lines just to handle its immense bulk. But the logistics were where the true madness began. This wasn't a weapon you could simply roll into place. The gun had to be completely disassembled and then reassembled every time it needed to move to a new firing position. Specialized crane tracks had to be laid alongside the main tracks just to facilitate this process. The barrel itself was a marvel of engineering, measuring 32.5 meters, 106 feet. Due to its rigid mounting, the gun could only elevate up or down, reaching a maximum angle of 48 degrees. Horizontal aiming was achieved not by turning the gun, but by shunting the entire chassis along a curved section of railway track. Now, let's talk about its payload. The weapon's caliber measured 80 centimeters, 31 inches. Imagine a shell with the circumference of a small dining table. The heavy concrete-piercing or high-explosive shells each weighed a phenomenal 7 tons, making them the largest and heaviest shells fired by any artillery piece in history. The manpower required to simply operate this weapon defies modern military understanding. A staggering 2,500 crewmen were needed just to lay the necessary tracks for movement, and another 250 men were required to handle the complicated assembly process, which took a dedicated team 3.5 days to complete. Furthermore, once assembled, the giant gun was an unmistakable target. Therefore, entire flak battalions, anti-aircraft units, were a necessity, tasked solely with protecting the highly visible position from any attacks from the air. This massive consumption of men and resources instantly made the Gustav highly impractical for most battlefield scenarios. Despite its decade-long construction throughout the 1930s, the Schwerer Gustav failed its original purpose. It didn't enter active service until 1941, long after the invasion of France was complete. Its first deployment was to the Eastern Front, where its overwhelming power was needed for the Siege of Sevastopol. The logistics here were even more intense, requiring 4,000 men just to set up the gun in its firing position. During the siege, the Gustav proved its destructive potential, firing 300 shells at various entrenched enemy positions, successfully leveling Soviet fortresses and destroying deep underground ammunition magazines. After Sevastopol, the Behemoth was transported toward Leningrad, but strategic changes meant the planned assault was cancelled. This leads us to one of the most persistent mysteries of the Gustav. Was there a second gun? While some records are unclear, a possible sister weapon, nicknamed Dora by the German artillery crew, was reportedly operational at Stalingrad in 1942, only to be withdrawn by the Germans as the tide of the battle turned. But the ambition didn't end there. Even as the war turned against the Axis powers in 1942, German engineers proposed an even more absurd design. A new version of the gun mounted on a self-propelled platform that could move without railway tracks. This theoretical monstrosity, known as the Landkreuzer P-1500 Monster, was eventually, and perhaps mercifully, scrapped as the immense reality of the collapsing war effort finally set in. The final chapter for the Schwerer Gustav came near the war's end. To prevent the ultimate weapon from falling into enemy hands, some sources claim the massive gun was destroyed by German forces on April 14, 1945. Its massive ruins were later studied by Soviet specialists, a testament to the engineering that built it and the impracticality that doomed it. The Schwerer Gustav remains a compelling yet cautionary tale in military history. A weapon that demonstrated that the largest creation is not always the most effective. The history of Hitler's rail supergun is a chilling reminder of the destructive obsession that defined World War II. We've brought this complex story to life through animated visuals based on the rigorous research of respected historians, with all key references shown on screen. If the unbelievable scale of this machine fascinated you, please like this video, comment below with your thoughts, and share it with others. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell for more captivating animated history.